Welcome to the one video a year where I become a booktuber. And guess what? I read 26 books in 2021, which is what I wanted to do in 2020, but didn't. Some of what I read was great literature. Some of what I read was veritable trash. Let's get into it. By the way, I'm developing a canker sore on this side of my tongue, so if I start to sound like Elena Gilbert, that's why. The first 3 books I read in 2021 were Confessions of a Shopaholic, Shopaholic Takes Manhattan, and Shopaholic Ties the Knot by Sophie Kinsella. So we're starting off with the veritable trash. I really like the movie Confessions of a Shopaholic, so I wanted to read the books that it was based on, and it was pretty good. I can see why these books are so popular. The writing style is very digestible while being witty and self-aware, and Becky Bloomwood is a great zesty protagonist, and her struggle with her shopping addiction is genuinely compelling to read about. At least it is at first. The thing is, each of these books has the same character arc for Becky, where she starts off as a shopaholic, and then by the end of the book, she's renounced consumerism and materialism, and she just gets rid of all of her shit in this grand gesture to show how much she's changed as a person. And then rinse and repeat for 9 books. And I get it, addiction is a struggle and people have relapses, and also the name of the series is Shopaholic. You can't not have her being a shopaholic in these books. But there are 9 of these books. I also have no idea how a high-powered businessman like Luke Brandon dates and marries someone like Becky. Fun fact, they get married on my birthday. Like, sure, she's very bright and fun and vivacious and probably a killer in the sack, but she is so stressful, and that is why I could not continue with the series. Death World by Harry Harrison, who is best known for writing the book upon which the movie Soylent Green is loosely based. So do with that what you— oh my god, that movie takes place in 2022! I took an adaptation class my senior year of college, and we had to take a story in the public domain and adapt it for the screen. This book was published in 1960, which is normally not long enough for something to enter the public domain, but apparently Harry Harrison didn't give a shit and just dropped that bitch into the public domain immediately. Admittedly, the setting is pretty cool. There's this alien planet called Pyrrhus, and it's practically uninhabitable, except humans live there for some reason. The planet has 2G gravity, which means that it's really hard to traverse the land if you're not built like a tank, and there's insane, unpredictable, extreme weather conditions, so you could be walking through a snowstorm one minute and then a sandstorm the next, and every alien plant and animal life form on this planet is trying to kill humans, which is a great setup. It's rife with conflict. Unfortunately, the characters are really boring and the story is lackluster. But I wrote a pilot based on this book, so yay. Now we shall finally get into great literature with Dune by Frank Herbert. Absolute unit. Also, you can tell that I had this on a windowsill that faced the sun in my apartment in Chicago, and it did a number on these pages. I never really know what to say about, like, great classic books that are super well known, because I never have anything new or interesting to add to the conversation. This was, I think, the best book I read all year. Rose, what'd you think of the movie? I thought it was fine. I kind of prefer the David Lynch version. The world building in this is just remarkable. I mean, when you think about the Fremen, oh, they live on this dry, arid dune planet. Of course they would create suits that would conserve and recycle their body moisture. Of course, their entire religion and culture revolves around water and also being able to survive harsh conditions. It's just magnificent. I also read Dune Messiah, aka Dune Mwai. It was really boring. The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. This book is really successful, and it upsets me. For a lot of reasons that I won't get into because of spoilers, but I will say, you don't have to forgive your abuser. You just don't. I know this book is literally about heaven, and it's a very Christian view that you should always forgive people, even those who haven't apologized to you, but I just took issue with it. The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. This shit just keeps getting better and better. Fun fact, this is the handy-dandy little notebook that I write all of my scripts for these videos in. This is the notebook where I wrote all of my feelings about The Secret. We're gonna get the fuck into it, my dudes. The Secret is about the law of attraction, the power of manifestation. And I think there is something to be said for, you know, positive thinking and getting into the mindset that you already have the thing that you want, because it makes you a more confident person, and confidence is key when it comes to getting certain things in life. However, I took issue with so many elements in this book. Number 1, the fat shaming. The author purports that nobody has hormone disorders or thyroid problems that could contribute to them gaining weight. Nothing like that. Those are just disguises for your negative thinking. Fuck off. Rhonda, there are 7 billion people on this planet, and if you think that every single one of our bodies reacts in the exact same way to the exact same stimuli, I am sorry to inform you that you are a fucking moron. Number 2, praise for the 1%. There's this quote from the book that's like, why do you think 1% of the world's population holds 96% of the world's wealth? And I'm like, I don't know, capitalism, greed, systemic inequality. But no, Rhonda Byrne answers, because these people think of nothing but wealth. And I'm in complete agreement with this. I mean, what else would they think about? Human rights? The environment? They don't have time for that. They're too busy evading their taxes. Number 3, the victim-blamey undertones. And overtones. She says at one point that all the major disasters that affect the world happen because large groups of people manifested them happening. I mean, yeah, I'm sure people in Florida are worried about hurricanes, but I think that's kind of down to climate change. Can we manifest our way out of climate change, Rhonda? Because if so, I would be so down. Did we manifest the pandemic, Rhonda? Number 4, this idea that we're always in control of our circumstances. We're just not. It's untrue, blatantly. A lot of belief systems, and I don't think the law of attraction is excluded from this, exist so that humans can feel like they have control over their lives. It's a natural thing to want. Control means that we're safe. But we just don't. We don't have control over everything, and anybody who tries to convince you that you do is fucking lying. An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rodgerson. I liked it. It was about a human artist falling in love with a fae king, and it gave me a new fear, which is being immortal, but not being able to create art. Like, God, what a fucking nightmare scenario. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, aka Ass Kissing, the book. This book was published in 1936 and people still talk about it like it's the Bible of human interaction, and I am here to debunk that shit. I could see in certain business negotiation type settings how deferring overtly to the other person in the room could help turn things in your favor, but make no mistake, you are not going to win and, more importantly, keep friends with this book. Conversations, the dynamics that he describes in the book just sound really unbalanced and dishonest. Yes, it's true, humans love talking about themselves. I'm doing that now, but that's like not how a true conversation and relationship works. Dale. He also praises Rockefeller in this one story about how he manipulated his own workforce into not unionizing, so Dale Carnegie can choke. The Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish is a great actress and comedian, and this is her memoir. She wrote this book because she had a very, very rough life. She grew up in an abusive home, and then in the foster system, and then married a guy who also abused her, and this book, she wrote it so that she could show people that you can get out of anything. She came out of all of that and became a professional comedian. Like, her job is to make people laugh. I will say, if you're interested in this book, I haven't actually heard the audiobook, but I feel like it would be better than actually reading the story just because Tiffany Haddish's comedic timing and verbal delivery would probably just enhance the experience. The Little Book of Hygge by Mike Vikking. I'm aware that this is like a coffee table book and there's a lot of pictures in it, but there's also some words too, and it took me a couple hours to read them, so I'm gonna include this. Hygge is a somewhat untranslatable Danish word, kind of meaning coziness and happiness and taking pleasure in the simple things in life and a whole boatload of other things, and this book is all about how to incorporate Hygge into your life. And I loved it. It gives me joy. Princess Academy by Shannon Hale. The main character in Princess Academy lives in this village, and the prince of their kingdom or whatever is destined to marry a girl from that village, so all of the girls of a certain age have to go to this Princess Academy, you know, in the likelihood that the prince will choose one of them so they can be, like, ready to marry him and rule over the kingdom. Hi! It's a week later. My dad came home when I was filming the first half of this video, and I don't like filming when other people are home, and then my canker sore got worse as the week progressed, which was really fun because I talk on the phone for a living. So, same video, same sweater, different day, different hair. Anyway, Princess Academy. What I really like about Shannon Hale's books, I mean, I've only read 2 of them so far, but I love the extra layer of mysticism that she adds that elevates the story and the world building. The next 2 books I read were related to each other. They're The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Larue and The Phantom of Manhattan by Frederick Forsyth. I'm not going to get too into either of these because in 2021 I went bonkers with collecting different editions of this book and also published fanfiction of this book, and I want to do an entire video dedicated to that collection, so I'll discuss these more in there. Following the gothic theme, I read Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, and man oh man, I have not wanted to stab a character as much as I wanted to stab Heathcliff in a very, very long time. It would be an absolute slaughter. House 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. Love me some Vonnegut. Love me some anti-war sentiments. This is a must-read. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. My friends and I got together and read this in a group. This was originally a course that Julia Cameron created and taught, and it's all about letting your artistic soul emerge and feeding your inner child and all this stuff. It was a lot for my very cynical mind to try and adapt to. I'm also really lazy and I gave up on doing morning pages like 3 days into the process. But I'll probably give it a reread at some point in my life when I am more receptive to it. The Inexplicable Logic of My Life by Benjamin Illyrio Science. Fun fact, the protagonist in this book deals with losing his grandmother, and I finished reading this very shortly before my own grandfather passed away. This is a coming-of-age novel that deals with moving on past high school and going through loss and family relations, and it's really wonderful. The main character, Salvador, has this awesome relationship with his adoptive father, but then Salvador is also having these weird, random, violent outbursts, which his adoptive father definitely does not share. So he's starting to think that maybe it's a trait that his biological father has, which he's never met his biological father. And then Salvador's father and entire family are Mexican American, and Salvador is white, so there are times when he questions whether he fits in with this family. It's just so beautiful in every way, the story and the characters and the writing style. I cried. Next up is The Art of Dramatic Writing by Lajos Egri, I think. This is a great, thorough, direct book on what makes a great play, how to make your characters and your plot encapsulate the premise that you're trying to drive forward in your narrative, how to escalate a scene, etc. So if you're looking to write a play or just a story, I would really recommend this one. The other nonfiction book I read was for an internship, and I won't mention the title because the company I was interning for wanted to adapt it into a movie, and I signed an NDA, so I'm just gonna be safe and not say the title. But I read it, I promise. Now for some fantasy. I discovered Daniel Green's BookTube channel towards the end of the year, and he's the reason I read most of these last books. I read Mort and Reaper Man from the Death Collection of Discworld by Terry Pratchett. I thought they were pretty good. I love the writing style, love the absurdist tone, and I really like Death as a character. In particular, I love when he does mundane human things. But I've seen a few articles saying that the rest of the Death Collection is kind of more of the same. So I thought I would put a pause on that and then pick up The City Watch or Small Gods, since the latter is meant to be Terry Pratchett's magnum opus. I would like to note that I attempted to read The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, and I got 150 pages in, and I couldn't do it anymore. According to my sister, I stopped reading right before the book gets good, but if it takes you 150 pages to get where you're going, you need an editor. Robert, may you rest in peace. Wheel of Time will get another attempt from me at another point in my life. After that, I read and finished The Last Wish by Andrei Sapkowski, and let me tell you, going from the overwritten nature of The Eye of the World to the much more sparse in comparison nature of The Witcher was jarring. However, I eventually adapted to it and ended up liking the book a lot. I did basically skim the chapter in which Dandelion is introduced because I have watched that video of Joey Beatty reading that chapter so many times that I basically know it backwards and forwards. My favorite chapter was A Question of Price, which is the one that season 1, episode 4 of the Netflix series is based on. The conversation in the book between Geralt and Calanthe is just ugh! They're such strong characters and they're so specifically written, and you can just tell when an author knows their characters in their bones and knows how they would handle a conflict like this. One where they're both super motivated and have completely, oh my god, it was so good. And same goes for the chapter when Dandelion's introduced. To think of these two completely opposite characters having this conversation about the changeability of the world, it's just, I really liked it. Stormfront by Jim Butcher. I cannot believe how long it's taken me to get into the Dresden Files because it is so up my alley, it's ridiculous. This is a hard-boiled private detective story that's also an urban fantasy, and considering all of that, you can kind of tell that the book is trying to be cool, and it works. It tries to be cool, and it is cool. I am very excited to get into the rest of this series. Last, but almost the longest, was Crave by Tracy Wolff. If that cover doesn't say Twilight ripoff, I don't know what does. This is about a recently orphaned teenager named Grace who goes to live with her uncle in Alaska, and he's the headmaster of this remote, mysterious, elite private academy that definitely doesn't have supernatural beings attending. I got interrupted during filming again. It is now nighttime, and my parents are asleep. Anyway, Crave by Tracy Wolff. Grace falls in love with this vampire bad boy, Jackson. Actually, they fall in sexual attraction, and then they bond by telling each other really stupid jokes. They're cute, though. I like them. So it's all fun and games for the first 400 pages. And then the last quarter or so of the book takes you on a fucking roller coaster ride. The danger was real. My heart was racing. The plot twists punched me in the face. I did not realize how much I cared about these characters until they were really going through it. Crave ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, so you can bet your sweet keister that as soon as I finished it, I downloaded the sequel from my library. Thank you for sticking through this very late and haphazard video. I love you very dearly. Bye-bye.